War Z and the Zombie Survival Guide. Our guest tonight, Max Brooks. Oh, man, we're excited to have Max Brooks on the program. Why? There's so many things to ask Max Brooks. And so, without further ado, we're going to bring Max on the program. Hey, Max, welcome to Ground Zero.
Good to be here.
So, Max, I'll tell you, so you're coming into the office. You're working on your fantastic film that's going to be coming out. You are, working on a lot of things right now. And you hear in the news in Florida that some man eats a homeless man's face. What goes through your mind?
That didn't scare me at all. What scared me was the reaction to it.
Uh-huh.
Because in my books, I have one basic religion, which is don't panic.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what's going on, look at the facts, take a deep breath, and then you can move forward. And, of course, everybody lost their minds. They did everything I told them not to do.
We have had in the pop culture a change in how we look at zombies. I mean, we went from the walkers to the running zombies, or the ones that can outrun you. As far as you're concerned, which ones do you that scare you the most?
To me, the walkers scare me more because it's the difference between a quick death that'll be, over before you know it, and a slow, deliberate death. It's the difference between a fast death and a slow death. You said you beat cancer, right?
Yeah.
Well, you, I'm sure, had plenty of nights lying awake at, sweating, your head spinning, thinking, oh, my God,
yeah,
this is going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting for my life here.
Right.
And that's exactly what would happen in a slow zombie siege. You'd be in your zombie fort, or you'd be on the run, and you'd think, oh, my God, it hasn't gotten me yet, but it's coming. And it's going to get me eventually, as opposed to a fast zombie where bing, bang, boom, you're either dead or it's dead.
We have seen the zombie evolve. And what do you think was the push for the evolved zombie, from the walker to the runner?
It was the push for the short attention span of kids. I mean, movies are for kids, and movies have to cater to them, and kids just don't have, most of them, they simply don't have the patience anymore for the kind of slow, scratching, slouching zombies that you and I grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
The original Dawn of the Dead was something like 3 hours long. That would just not play today to the millennials.
Well, Fulci's zombie films, I think, for the pure gross-out factor, would be fun for kids.
Who wouldn't want to see a zombie fighting a shark?
Especially one that has gums. But, I just wondered when that evolution came to pass, because I remember I saw 28 Days Later, then I saw Guns film, and then, of course, Shaun of the Dead went back to the slow-moving zombie, and they made it a very fun and interesting, parody, or at least a fun and interesting, you could say, send-up of the zombie film. Did you like Shaun of the Dead?
I loved it, and I can tell you why I think it was such a good movie, because I've since then become friends with Simon Pegg.
Oh,
and I can tell you that he is a genuine zombie fan. He's watched Romero's movies. He loves the Romero movies. He wanted to make a genuine zombie movie, as opposed to, I think, a lot of zombie filmmakers nowadays who just want to make a hit movie, and zombies are just successful.
A lot of what you wrote about in the Zombie Survival Guide was based on true accounts. It wasn't all fiction?
Well, in World War Z, everything in it is based on human history. I didn't make anything up, because before I'm a sci-fi nerd or a zombie nerd, I'm a history nerd.
Mm-hmm.
So there's pretty much nothing zombies can do to us that we haven't already done to each other much worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I pretty much just took true stories and zombified them. And so when people read World War Z and they say to me, oh, well, X, Y, and Z in your book, that could never happen, I just say to them, well, guess what? Already did. Zombie is more like a plague. Like AIDS doesn't care if you know about it or not.
Right.
And Ebola doesn't care that if it infects you, it's going to die as well. The fact that it has a job to do, and its job is just to infect and infect and infect until it takes over the whole world. And that's what scares me. I call it a slate wiper.
Well, I was just thinking, because, you look at, you're a nerdy just guy like me, a nerd guy who probably watched a lot of B-horror and sci-fi, read a lot of history, which I did. I just buried my life in history. But I look back at how we look at, like I said, Godzilla, or aliens for that matter. Aliens were the Red Menace at one time. Now they're violent, and many of them are our creators. But see, we see the zombie, though, it's all, I guess, perfect. It's a perfect fit for a time where we feel like we're in the middle I guess you could say, a police state, or we're developing into this police state or surveillance state. We're watching everyone. We're looking over our shoulder. We have this, if you see something, say something. It all seems to be the metaphor for the same settings you see in a lot of these zombie stories where, you can't trust your neighbor for fear that they're a ticking time bomb ready to explode.
Well, I think that's an interesting point because, ironically, I think the more security we have now, the more people feel that society is starting to break down. I think we're living in very anxiety-ridden times. And I'm 40 years old, and I remember, as I'm sure you do, remember the 1970s. People felt the exact same way. They felt that sort of the world as they knew it was changing so fast, and a lot of these changes were not good.
Right.
And I think zombie movies give us a chance to sort of explore the apocalypse without it seeming too real.
And, of course, we were busily looking when World War Z comes out. I guess it's due out in April of 2013. Is that right?
That's what they're telling me. I think it's June of 2013.
Okay, so it's June of 2013. So it'll be a summer movie next year. Max, the thing about the Zombie Survival Guide and now the CDC and the Department of Homeland Security issuing these things, is it done? Do you believe that now you could see yourself being more prepared for anything? I mean, zombies are the worst of the worst, but, preparedness is now something that's on everyone's mind. You have the preppers. Do you think that the zombie genre has now spun into the prepper movement?
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons that I wrote the Zombie Survival Guide. Because the truth is, if you're ready for a zombie apocalypse, you're pretty much ready for a natural disaster.
A lot of people, I really don't think, actually feel that America is going to drop that far off the map that we'll have to survive like this. But I also remember when War of the Worlds came out, and Steven Spielberg was saying that, one of the things that he felt that Americans aren't used to is seeing the refugee experience where we're forced out of our homes, where we have to walk from place to place and forage for food. And see, zombie movies do the same thing for me. I think about that thinking, God, how would I survive this? And how is it you keep up hope when you're surrounded by death? And one of the questions that was answered for me is why zombies don't eat other zombies. Because they're attracted to the scent of death, which I thought was fascinating. I mean, would you agree that that's why they don't eat each other? They just eat, humans?
Well, I think if they obey simple virus rules, viruses don't infect other viruses. They have what's called the biological imperative, which means their job is to infect living tissue.
Right.
And I think that's enough of an answer of why zombies don't go after other zombies, because they don't go after humans to eat them. They eat to spread the virus.
Would you say that a lot of these shows and a lot of things like your handbook and others, do you think that the reason why the CDC and Department of Homeland Security have given these guides to us is because perhaps they sense that there may be some sort of an uprising? After all, they bought all this ammunition and everybody's wondering why. And the first thing that comes to mind is zombie apocalypse. That's what I've been hearing.
Well, I don't think it's so much an uprising, but I think everybody had a very huge wake-up call with Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
And I think what Katrina taught us was they may not come for you. Help may not come. I mean, literally the most powerful nation in the world was stunned for weeks. I mean, literally weeks. When people were screaming into the CNN cameras, please help us, I'm dying, the head of FEMA said, yeah, we don't know what's going on.
Right.
Because the truth is, if there were a zombie apocalypse, you would be so much more likely to die of infection or dehydration or sickness or starvation or all the other secondary and tertiary things that would kill you in a regular disaster.
Right.
I mean, as far as facing a zombie, the truth is you don't even have to. You can just get away from them. But you can't get away from starvation or dehydration. So that's what's really important. So,
Max, is there anything new that we can expect from you soon? Anything that you're working on that people would be excited to see that you've done? Because, of course, you have a great career. You have a lot of stuff behind you. It's fantastic. Anything new coming down?
I do. I don't want to talk about this stuff yet because I always get nervous about my own work. I always think my own work blows. So once it's ready to be published, I'll talk about these two different projects that I've got coming out.
If you can prepare for a zombie apocalypse, you can prepare for anything. And we owe it to you, Max Brooks, for giving us that awareness. And I really appreciate you coming on this program tonight.
My pleasure. Take care, everybody. Be safe.
You too. And you have a great night. Take care. Thank you so much.